Hey guys, Aaron Burke here to talk about the latest episode of Breaking Bad. This week's episode is Granite State. Kind of a big game changer in a lot of ways. Not nearly as distressing or like completely insane as the last couple episodes, but I guess it's the transition episode that moves the story into where it needs to be for the finale, and that accomplishes that very, very well. I think it feels honestly completely different from any other episode of Breaking Bad that we've ever seen, mostly because of the scenario with Walt in the cabin in New Hampshire, kind of all alone, living out in the wilderness. It had a whole different feel and tone to it, and I love that. I'll get to that in a minute, but so we kind of start off with Saul actually, and the vacuum guy, who, by the way, I love that he's played by Robert Forster. It's so funny because like the first time I ever saw Robert Forster was as Arthur Petrelli in Heroes, and it was such a bad character, terribly written season, but that's besides the point. But he had this power in which he sucked other heroes' powers. He was very much like a vacuum cleaner in and of himself, and he stole other people's powers. And in Breaking Bad, he's playing the vacuum guy, and he it is said sucks away people's identities. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. It is comparison, but yeah. So he's that guy, and Saul encounters Walt in in this kind of room underneath the vacuum store. It was really, I think, sort of the beginning of the decline for Walt happened in this scene where he's kind of like, oh, come on, Saul, gung ho, like, yeah, we're gonna get him, like, it's not over. And then he starts like coughing, and Saul just looks at it with pity, and it's like, yeah, it's over. And it's very, as much as Walt's done, it's very sad to see him in this state where he can't do anything anymore. He's no longer the great powerful Walt who could get anything done. Now he can't even hold himself together enough to get through an attempt to be intimidating without hacking up a storm. And it's just, a very different, compromising state for him. But it's very fitting at this point that he's wound up this way. And it only escalates over the course of the episode. We have, from the moment he's brought to the cabin, he starts out, kind of thinking that he's still Heisenberg. He still has what it takes to make his enemies pay, to go and hunt Todd's gang and all of them. And there's that great moment where he puts on the hat, the old Heisenberg hat, and starts to go and leave the reservation. But he doesn't, and he says, tomorrow. And you very much get the sense that it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's never going to happen. And the fact that he's been taken to this point where he is no longer Heisenberg. Heisenberg is just a shell. As much as he tries to be, he can't be that guy anymore. And it was a very, in some ways, surprising revelation. We've known that he can't be the character anymore, but him coming to grips with himself is even more interesting and kind of surprising. And then just over the course of the episode, the way he decays further and further, it's very sad, and actually made me feel a great deal of sympathy for him for the first time in a long time. He became, because he was broken down, because he lost his family, ironically, because he lost his family, he became the Walter White he was in season 1. He finally is now truly the Walter White who cares about his family, who wants to give them money, who wants nothing but for them to be safe. Finally, after all the ego and all is said and done, he's back to being that guy, now that he can't do anything to save them. And he knows this, and it's really crushing, and it's actually something that makes the viewer once again kind of wanting to root for him. But so the scenes in the cabin are just they're very well shot. The something about like the colors, the obviously the camera really captures like the snow, the white, this cold scenario. It's cold literally because of the winter, but also because he is by himself in utter cold silence. There is nothing for him there anymore, and his life has become this cold void. And the way the camera kind of captures this, it's brilliant, and it makes you feel like you're kind of in there with the cabin with him, whether it's the camera being placed like in the oven as he reaches inside, or this close-up of him in the bed and the ring. It's like it makes it feel very cramped, and you're kind of right there in this isolated space with him. And visually it's very good, and it sort of brings you into his mental state. And I think it just as far as the color scheme goes, it's a very different kind of palette than we're used to from Breaking Bad. We're kind of used to more greens, more yellows, more brighter, bolder colors. And here it's just very much devoid of anything, as his life also has become devoid of all color. So I thought that visually it's really puts you in his mind. So I love all that stuff in the episode. Of course, the other major part was Jesse being trapped underground, and finally managing to break out, and then being caught, and frickin', oh my god, sociopathic Todd. I first I hated that guy. I still hate him, but he's become so much more interesting. Just how much he genuinely seems like really polite, but also is like this sociopathic killer. It's just a really fascinating balance. Like that scene where he goes to Skylar's house and threatens her. Crazy scene, by the way. Like my heart was banging out of my chest. But he's like, he's very, very threatening. And the very next scene, he goes and tells Lydia, "Oh, Skylar's just a nice lady. She's gonna listen." And like he really means that she's a nice lady. And it's such a funny combo to see how he can be so crazy on the other hand, but then also like a nice guy. It's kind of fascinating. But nevertheless, by the time we get to the scene where he offs Jesse's former girlfriend, my god, I want this guy dead. And poor freaking Jesse, who has been tortured, I think now more than any other character on the show. What with losing Jane, Brock's poisoning, now this. He has had it so bad. I really want so badly for him to get some redemption by the end of the show. I think he needs it. He deserves it. If anyone needs a happy ending, it's Jesse. I really hope Vince Gilligan does it and gives him a happy ending. I know Vince Gilligan can be quite a cruel bastard sometimes, but I think in this case he really needs to give Jesse peace, and not peace from death. Just give him some goddamn peace. Get revenge. I want to see him put a bullet in Todd's skull. That's gonna be great. So yeah, and I'm curious to see. God, I mean, with the episode flashed forward a few months showing Walt's transformation, but by the time we've hit the future, we haven't seen how Jesse is now. And honestly, I'm freaking scared to see how he's wound up, because after that escape attempt, they probably bound him up more. They probably, like, crucified him and shackled him up, and, like, he's probably been tortured, like, so much more since then. And there's nothing he can do because they have Brock's life hanging over his head. So I'm horrified to see what Jesse's current situation is. So we'll see that next episode. The other thing, of course, is the ending of this episode, which I liked in so many ways. You have Walt going to the bar. He calls Junior and has this conversation. And the way Bryan Cranston performs it is so heartbreaking, as he's trying to come up with a reason, an explanation to give his son for why he did what he did, and he can't do it. He realizes, like, there are no words that can properly explain what he did. The feeling is there. The feeling is there, how sorry he is, how he knows what he did is wrong, but he's gone so far in the direction of evil, the direction of darkness, that he knows that nothing he says now to his son can possibly explain it, can possibly cause his son to forgive him. And as he knows that, trying to explain it to him, it's very heartbreaking. And seeing his son's reaction. Of course, you get exactly where Walt Jr. is coming from when he says to his dad, fuck you, shut up, I just die already, why don't you die? You get it, but he hasn't seen what Walt's been through these past few months, and we, the viewer, having seen it, it's so awful. You really feel for the guy, for Walt, just seeing his son hates him, despises him, he has nothing. And I gotta say, after all this time, all the hate I felt towards Walt, it's pretty impressive the writers have managed to make the viewer turn around again and once again feel sorry for him. But he's a broken man, he has nothing, and that's obviously what causes him to call the cops. And then there's that great scene at the end where he catches Gretchen and Elliot on TV, and it's very fascinating. I didn't think that those two would be brought into the picture again, but it's brilliant that they were, because they are, in essence, the reason that Walter White became Heisenberg, that he became a meth dealer, because of what happened with their split over the company, and the fact that it's brought back to those three definitely brings the story full circle. And I can see, when Gretchen and the guys and Elliot said, what did he have to do with the company? Oh, just the company name. And you just see his reaction to that. It's like the old Walt ego was kicked back into gear. And this has caused him, and the fact that they've taken all credit away from him, which is something that Walt has always needed and wanted, credit. He needs some kind of acknowledgement. That, and the final thing Gretchen said, which is that whoever this man Walter once was is gone. There's only Heisenberg. Those two things gave him new life. They gave him new vitality to go and essentially prove Gretchen wrong. What I saw when I saw Walter White stand and leave, well, they didn't see it, they didn't show him leave, but when he leaves, he's leaving not as Heisenberg. Heisenberg is dead. He's leaving as Walter White. He's leaving to bring justice for himself, for his family. The last thing he can do, I think, is go back, get the money that's his, and give it to his family. I think he still wants to do that, and above and beyond all else, he has to prove to himself that he's not doing it as the ruthless Heisenberg. He's doing it as Walter White, the broken family man. He's doing it as the guy who only wants one thing. He wants his family to be happy and secure. And so, just the end of the episode worked very well in that sense. With Gretchen and Elliot taking all the credit, it's spurred him on to once again assert that he is someone who can do something, and the thing he's going to do is finally do the last thing he can and get the money back and give it to his family if he can. And, I'm assuming he'll probably rescue Jesse in the process. He's probably going to go out guns blazing, and he won't let his legacy die. Not like that, not with a group of neo-Nazis. And it's brilliant that it took his old business partners to get him to have that realization. So I'm very happy with that ending. Very excited to see where the next episode goes. I literally have no idea how it's going to go. It could go in any number of directions. I think he's going after Todd's crew. He could be going after Gretchen and Elliot with all those guns in that trunk. That'd be pretty funny, right? He's just like, how dare you guys lie about me? I built this company. Fuck you, and just shoots them dead. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I wonder if they'll kind of come back into the next episode in some way. But I have no idea who's going to live, who's going to die. My bet is that Walt's going to find Jesse in the pit, and they're going to have one last awesome Jesse and Walt team up and take out Todd's crew together. Where the confrontation between Jesse and Walt winds up, I have no idea. Maybe Jesse kills Walt. Maybe Walt lets Jesse kill him. I could see him offering himself to Jesse that way at this point. you know, maybe not. Maybe Jesse lets Walt go. I'm still floating the theory that Marie will wind up killing Walt. I think that she has more reason to do it than anyone at this point after Hank's death, and she's already essentially said that she wants him dead, and I think it'd be great if they somehow pull that off, like if she poisons him with a ricin or something. But we'll see. Just looking forward to seeing what happens. But, you know, at this point, Walter White, yep, you're awesome again. I'm officially on your side, and I want you to go and kick some neo-Nazi ass. So, one episode to go. I'll see you there. Take care.